So here we are Saturday morning, departing Hotel Casa Abolengo in beautiful downtown Puebla. Highly recommend this place. They let us park the scooters inside the hallway or driveway, which was awesome. Nice and secure. They didn't care what time of night we came home. They always opened up for us. That's the hotel lobby on the left there. Upstairs is a beautiful restaurant with a nice view out to the cobblestone streets and beautiful old buildings. Puebla actually dates back to 1531 when it was first settled and founded by the Spanish. Until the 18th century, I believe, it was the second largest city in all of Mexico. It was overtaken by Guadalajara in the 1850s or thereabouts and has never quite recovered from a population perspective. But this is after the meetup at this beautiful park. They did do a group gas stop, which all things considered was pretty quick and efficient despite the sheer number of scooters. Again, the organizers of the ride just did a fantastic job. You'll see them darting ahead and back wearing the green vests. They did a fantastic job with blocking traffic. In general, too, I would say that the Mexican operators and drivers of cars and such are much more understanding and easygoing about a pack of scooters coming through and blocking their right-of-way. So the Saturday morning ride, the final destination, I believe, is this cool little mountain town of Cholula, and we went on an awesome scenic route to get there, past all sorts of farmlands and stuff like that. This is still within Puebla. I know this is a famous bridge because people gave a lot of verbal directions centered and oriented around that bridge. Not sure what it goes over, but it kind of cuts through the middle of Puebla. There you can see a guy who's hosting the event in the green vest zipping to the front, preparing to block traffic for all us eager scooterists. There was a quick little stop off and free continental breakfast at the Vespa and Piaggio dealer for Puebla. We'll be talking with our friend Sal here shortly. In fact, here we are. There's a nice view of all the bikes kind of parked and queued up. I want to say this is probably a pretty quick little pit stop. No more than 45 minutes. They had all sorts of nice breakfast platters with fresh fruit all laid out. And again, just a fantastic job with all aspects of the event. I wish I could say where this is in Puebla. It's still within the outer lying kind of downtown area. Definitely not the historic part. There's Christina and Scott.
Yeah.
Vente.
Okay, aquí estamos en Puebla.
Ajá.
We just arrived. Maybe
Con mi amigo
300.
Steve.
That's right. ¿Cómo te llamas?
Salvador.
Salvador.
Sí.
¿Qué haces?
Bueno, yo trabajo aquí en la tienda. I am the owner of the store.
Oh, mira. Bien, en inglés y español.
Sí, español. And I enjoy it so much my work. Sí. Y me da gusto saber que hayas venido. Sí. Muy sorprendido, gratamente sorprendido. Sí.
So he's come to the shop in San Diego a few times, and we've met his family.
He gave me this
just
t-shirt.
By just chance, he was wearing the Vespa shirt today, so it worked out pretty good.
Really?
But he's going to show us around the
Sí,
shop very
ven,
quickly.
les enseño, ven.
Before we
Sí.
So we're kind of walking to the dealership. He's a dealer for Aprilia, KTM,
En Villagusta,
Piaggio.
this is where we have
Husqvarna, KTM.
This is where we have parts. Now that Husqvarna, that KDM bought Husqvarna, also we sell Husqvarna.
Okay. And how long have you been in this location?
For almost 5 years.
5 years. It's a beautiful, beautiful shop.
This is el taller, this is a workshop. Then,
And how many employees do you have?
¿Cuántos somos? Richard, ¿cuántos empleados somos?
¿Cuántos que perdón?
And
KTM like this, 525.
really?
Yeah.
Y aquí tenemos un poco más de espacio
Yeah.
para, cool.
Yeah.
Para storage y motos que tenemos así que estamos haciendo de más tiempo.
And how do you get them down here? How do you get the bikes down here?
Ahorita te enseño.
Okay.
Ajá. Este es un free ride, ¿no? Que tiene motos así que están
So,
más,
que tienen más trabajo.
que tienen más trabajo, motos que ya están listas, que ya se tienen que entregar.
So these are bikes that have been serviced, ready to be picked up.
Están listas.
So they do bigger repair jobs down here.
This is, we do some custom bikes for the Triumph.
Oh, okay.
We already, I don't know if they already bring the parts in this bike.
How many Triumph dealers are there in Mexico?
Not so many.
Like 10, maybe?
The thing, maybe less.
Okay.
Maybe less. The thing is that Triumph comes in Mexico by an importer.
Oh, okay. And that always makes stuff very difficult.
And it's always difficult dealing with importer. In case of KDM, it's a direct. That's
So
why.
that helps the pricing tremendously.
A lot.
Yeah.
No, pricing will be amazing about pricing.
No middleman.
Yeah. And you have problems with not problems, but the Vespa comes through a distributor. And
It's an importer also.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to talk about spare parts. We have the new bikes also, that V7 is a new one, the 1050 also. I received yesterday that Pikes Peak for KDM. I mean, this MV Agustas, it's like for service. I mean, I think this bike is ready. I don't know what's but look at the bike. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a full carbon.
Carbon fiber,
This is a super cook, full equipped. I mean, huh?
So we'd said goodbye to our friend Sal from Hyperbikes in Puebla and continued on the route. I think I misspoke earlier when I said we went to Cholula. We did go to Cholula, but that's actually the next day on Sunday. Scott and I have been racking our brains trying to remember exactly where we went on this awesome Saturday ride. And I think it's a spot called Tlaxcala. Check this out. This car comes screeching to a halt on the left. Right here. Robot got a good kick out of that. I think it was the guy in the red car was so mesmerized by the pack of scooters that he had lost focus on the cars that he was closing in on ahead of him. But this was a nice long ride. I want to say it was a good 2 hours or something like that. Awesome pace. No one was going too fast. It wasn't the typical where people kind of race and speed out to the front. For the most part, people kind of held their position. You know, did some minor passing here and there. Good opportunity to kind of mix it up and see different people. This is actually from Juan Carlos of the Vespinos. This is the Sony action cam we let him borrow to document the weekend. So you can see the Vespino patch on the scooter on the right there. It's the big agave plant and the arches that you're famous for Guadalajara. So this was a great route. It was just kind of weaved up into the hills. There's a stretch here that we're entering now where there was just nothing but nurseries, like nurseries and nurseries and nurseries for miles and miles. And you could tell that popular destination on Sunday afternoon when Mexican families aren't working, everybody gets together and goes out and does family outings. There's a stretch coming up here on the right where there was this like freshwater source, this creek that actually ran right along the curb, and you would actually access all these local nurseries and businesses and cafes and restaurants via those small little docks that you can kind of see along the right there. Very, very lush, very, very beautiful. Awesome. I wish I could remember definitively where we were. I will say that I believe we were going for the most part like northeast from like downtown Puebla, because there was a stretch where we were headed towards this big volcanic peak that was off to the side. In fact, we actually climbed a portion of that like earlier in the day. There's all sorts of cool stuff on this fun stretch of roadway. It was nice and twisty and windy. You can tell it's a major thoroughfare for anybody in the neighboring pueblos. There was goat farmers, cattle farmers, you name it, you came across it on this road, and the road is for everybody to use. This is on Juan Carlos and his wife Marina on their LML 4-stroke 200. Had to stop for this whole herd of goats led by a nice black mule. That was a cool scooter. We actually switched later on Sunday, as a matter of fact. Check out this little girl wearing the pink helmet on this cream-colored PX. Just cruising, standing on the floorboard. That's the natural spot for a kid that's around, what would you say, ages 4 to 8 to kind of ride. Nice thing about Vespas with that flat floor, there's a spot for a kid to stand. That yellow bug was cool. That's actually some photographer from Mexico City that was documenting the event. Don't recall his name, but he took some amazing shots. He was out the top of the roof on the Volkswagen Bug a bunch. He was stretches where he was lying down in the road. We're coming up here on this huge pack of cattle. At this point, I was at the front of the pack, and we actually kind of had to slam on the brakes pretty good to avoid not hitting any of these cattle. Whoever's got the camera on here is a little bit further back, but you can see him off to the left there. Before this, there was evidence, plenty of cow patties on the roadway. Just kind of weaving and working our way to the final destination. The final destination was the Saturday event, where they kind of had a bunch of vendors set up. There was a slow race, which you'll be seeing later, and this is actually entering in the town that we cannot quite remember the name of. Sorry, everybody. So like I said, they had a vendor exposition. A lot of people were making transactions and purchases. We were passing out Vespa Motorsport and Scooter West patches and stickers like crazy. And of course they had a slow race. Well organized again. Highly competitive. Look at Robot in the mirror, spectating. Cheering on the one and only Eric Dutra. Dutra represented all of the San Diego crew very, very well. The guy does have a fine set of skills, and he was on this awesome 1966 SS-180 that belongs to a friend from Mexico City. Well, a new friend. We met him on this trip, but he was sensational. He actually has a pizzeria. He's well known throughout Mexico City. He's an Italian transplant. He moved from Rome about 30 years ago, but he's got a phenomenal collection of vintage Vespas, primarily from the 50s and 60s, all bikes that he said he found in Mexico and around Mexico City. This SS-180 was pretty beautiful. You could tell it had been repainted at one point in time, but all things considered, man, this thing was immaculate and original, and probably the nicest vintage bike on this particular rally. And there's Eric Dutra with the blue shirts and the famous I Love Scooters shirt, showing people how it's done in Europe. Dutra winds up making it all the way to the finals and winds up taking second place overall. Right in front there, that's our friends Yvonne and Liz. They're both from TJ. They flew down for the weekend. It was good seeing them and hanging out with them. Deeper into Mexico. There's Dutra again on the right there. I believe this is like the second heat, not quite the finals. You can see that person put the foot down. Dutra rides it home to victory. And here it is, the finals. You can see Eric Dutra got out a little ahead of the eventual winner and puts his foot down here shortly. Time to start packing up. We can kind of feel a few raindrops. It looked like some inclement weather was coming in. There goes Chuk, our tour guide from Tequila, and his brother Arky on the white 946. Everybody's kind of piling in and heading back to Puebla via the more direct route via major interstate. And this is actually Christina with the Sony Action Cam on her front wheel, as she and I somehow got pretty far behind, but we're entering the freeway and heading back to Puebla. So pretty short ride back to like the center of Puebla. I want to say this was maybe 20 kilometers max or something like that. Nice ride. We managed to dodge and avoid any rain, so despite the fact that it looked like it was going to start raining, we lucked out, didn't have to deal with that. Just a nice ride back into Puebla. And you'll see here pretty soon we're pulling up to one of the toll booths, one of very few. By this point, Christina had caught up to everybody as everybody was queued up, waiting to pay the toll and head into Puebla. And of course, just like the day before, this is the famous pasita. There's actually pasita numero dos. There's actually two of them. Busted out the masking tape, the Sharpies, and the group of 10 of us went through all 32 flavors in a very short period of time. But look at the colors of these drinks as they put them down. Absolutely sensational. Our friend in pink there is from Tijuana. She was the matador. She was the one that finished them all.